Welcome to the Intuitive Websites Internet Marketing Podcast, bringing you the country's top podcast on the subject of internet marketing, with your hosts Glenn Thayer and the CEO of Intuitive Websites, Thomas Young.
Welcome back to another episode, folks. Today we're going to be talking about generating conversions in social media. So whether it be blogs, Facebook, Google+, Twitter followers, things like that. We'll just look in the social media realm. I guess, Tom, let's just kick it off and let's find out, how should we define a conversion in social media? Because that's different than a conversion from your website.
It is, and it's important to note that the vast majority of people on social media are just reading and looking and checking things out. They don't do anything. They just look and check things out. But that doesn't help you as much, does it, if you're marketing through social media? So the way we define a conversion then is any interaction that goes beyond that. So it goes beyond just reading the content. It goes to some kind of connection between the company and the visitor of that social media site, from as simple as a like to as complex as a direct email or inquiry or posting or phone call.
So it could be comments. It could be any of that. Yeah,
if they interact, it's a conversion. If they just read and look, then that's a visit, and that's good. You have to have that, but it's not a conversion. And it's just, most social media websites don't interact that well and don't do conversions. Same thing with blogs. There's just much more. Well, you're really successful in social media when you're overwhelmed with inquiries and you can't answer all of them, and then the inquiries themselves become a form of discussion or a form of postings or readings. But you want to set up a strategy to have these conversions in your social media, and then of course to have that come back to your website as well.
Well, why are the conversions important?
Well, I think if you're gonna be out there in social media, all right, and you're gonna start posting your content and being known, there should be a business reason for doing that.
Well, the business reason, though, in social media has been everybody's on Facebook. We need to have a Facebook page. We need to have a Twitter account. We need to have a Google Plus business page. We need to have a linked. We need to be on LinkedIn. Everybody in our company needs to be on LinkedIn. It's the strategy in the past has been we have a presence.
Yeah,
but that I don't think is valid anymore. Having a presence somewhere isn't valid.
No, and what we're going to talk about here in just a second, and really what it all boils down to, is the depth of your content and the depth of what you're talking about and doing through social media. And we've done this in other podcasts. We've talked about social media being another form of the internet itself. But it's true. It's this content that's going to drive that interaction, and it's going to drive these conversions. And I think that's ultimately what this is going to come down to, is how good is your content, and how does it stimulate people to move to want to get in touch with you?
Well, looking at it from that standpoint, what type of content should you be putting out in social media as a business?
Yeah, and we just posted an article on our website about the different strategies of content distribution for all the social media. So it's called Web Marketing Content Tips, and it talks about the web content, how it comes in different shapes and sizes, and how there's guidelines for each social media outlet. And I think we've talked about these in podcasts before as well, but the bottom line is that you have to have a very good sense of the strategic purpose behind your business and how you specifically add value, and then you have to talk about it in social media, but you have to talk about it in the appropriate way, in the social media etiquette way. Like, don't get your blog confused with Twitter, and don't get what you do on Facebook confused with what you're doing in your email newsletter. You have to have a strategy for all these things, and if you do that right, and you do have value, and you can think of enough ideas to talk about to keep the conversation going, you're going to see more conversions, and you're going to see more people following you and liking you and those sort of things.
Well, I think most of our listeners that have been with us for a while have already done their web marketing strategy, so they've already have a general idea of where they're going with it. Where does social media fit into that web strategy?
Well, I think that social media is another way of getting your content out there. It really is. It's another way of saying, to the world, here I am, and this is what I do. This is my billboard to you in Facebook. I think the challenge that people run into is really understanding what their content gift is for their company, what their content message is, and then assigning the right person to get the content posted, following the guidelines that are appropriate in social media. Like, for example, we don't think you should be posting every day in Facebook. We think that's overkill. We think that you'll just burden people's Facebook accounts, and they're likely to say, okay, I've had enough of this guy every day, really.
They see too much on the timeline. They go, yeah, we're done.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Whereas a blog is different. You can post every day with a blog, because a blog, if you're not going to assume that everybody's going to read all your blog postings. But blog postings are done for SEO purposes as well. So if you're titling the page and posting on your blog every day, you're adding a new web page every day. Google likes that.
Well, there's a lot of people that are, especially for Facebook page, it's like, hey, like my page, and you get entered into, this contest or whatever it might be. It seems like a lot of people have gimmicks to get likes on Facebook. I mean, if we're talking just like Facebook.
Yeah.
People are looking at likes, and they're trying to find some gimmicks to increase how many people like their page. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it comes back to the strategy and the results. Now, this is March 2012, and we just finished this holiday season. And I would say that retailers selling, for example, directly through Facebook was not a big success for those folks. They're realizing that Facebook is not an actual e-commerce channel. Facebook is a place where you talk about the e-commerce stuff and the buying and so forth. And so when getting people to like you, I'm a big fan of having it happen organically. Having it happen because you've got a great product, or you've got something that's special or unique, as opposed to forcing people to do it. Because Facebook is not the media of twist your arm and make it happen. Now, websites are a little different. Websites, yeah, you might use coupons and special events and things through the web. But on Facebook, it's a conversation that's happening, so let it happen organically. Have people like you because they just bought your product for Christmas and they love it. And they want to tell their friends that they like it because of that, not because you're giving one away free if they, have some kind of contest or a raffle or drawing.
Well, I mean, we just, in the previous podcast, we talked about the new launch of the Intuitive Websites website.
Yep, absolutely.
So on Facebook, because I'm thinking about this, if we have Facebook, if we were to say, launched a new website, like this, here's what it is, nobody cares.
Right.
Bottom line, nobody cares that you have a new website. Nobody really cares about that. However, what people do care about is, how can I take that information to help me? Well, in our last podcast, obviously, we talked about how we did it for usability and how it's a great case study and a great model for ease of use and simplicity.
Absolutely.
So it might be the comment that might be on the Facebook page would be, hey, if you're looking for how to get more usability and a simple website, well, here's what we did on how to get that. And you've almost built a blueprint for them. So your post now is content heavy.
Yes.
With, hey, here's what it is. Because almost everybody that's on Facebook has some type of website, whether it's in social media, whether it's here's my Facebook page and that's it,
yep,
or they have their Facebook page along with their business websites and everything else that they've got going on with their blogs. So maybe it's something, hey, here's content as opposed to touting a new website. So content is important as how you present the content.
Well, and also, what is your history of posting content? So if you've posted content over the years that people love and they can't wait to, and you're posting once a week to Facebook, it's going to show up and they can say, wow, okay, those guys, yeah, I remember those guys. There's good stuff there. I'm going to go see what they just posted. And that's part of a really good Facebook strategy. I think it's also part of a Google Plus strategy, and I would also say that LinkedIn is a similar type strategy to that. Now, blogs are a little bit different because blogs, like I said, you can post every day to blogs. The content can be much more in-depth. And in some cases, you're just going to have a link back to a blog posting in Facebook anyway. So,
well, what about having the right person post?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to talk about that. We work with many clients, and we talk about social networking with them all the time. And their challenge is, who does this in my company? I've got a marketing coordinator or I've got a marketing manager. Should they be posting? Well, can you train us on how to do this? Because the inclination on Facebook, okay, the thing that people lean toward doing on Facebook from a business standpoint, if they don't have direction, is posting just, hey, came into the office today and surprise, we had donuts here. Yeah, I mean, it's just, you just talk about the stuff you talk about at the water cooler.
Right.
And like you said, I mean, if people don't care about a new website, they really, they're going to, well, okay, you got donuts at your office. Okay, whatever. But so you've got to have somebody that has kind of a strategic perspective on what you're doing on Facebook.
Unless your water cooler talk is similar to a Jersey Shore episode.
Yeah.
And it's entertaining, and that's the purpose of your business.
And that's the purpose, which is interesting that you said that, because over the last year or so, Facebook has really, and Twitter have really developed into watching the media thing, where people are watching something on TV and posting on it, and there's this whole group of people now following it. It's almost like we can all watch TV together. You can watch TV with 1,000 of your friends, right?
Absolutely.
So but absolutely. In fact, anything you do in web marketing, and we've got some podcasts on this as well, is you've got to have the right person on the bus to do this. And you're not going to find that person. In a lot of cases, you've got to train them.
And it's also the other thing is it's different. You have to look at each demographic. The demographic for Facebook is different than the demographic for LinkedIn, different from the demographic for Twitter, and different for Google+.
Yeah,
so you have
absolutely.
a different audience or a different reason for being on it. If you take people you might have grandparents that are there on Facebook just because they want to see pictures of their grandkids.
That's right.
And they might post on their grandkids' wall and embarrass them. It's whatever it might be. You've got to have a legitimate business reason for the target demographic, and you need to speak the language too.
Absolutely.
That's huge. Now let's talk about the most important thing is conversions.
Yes.
I mean, how do we measure conversions in social media?
Well, it's once you get in there and start working with Facebook, you'll see likes and followers are real important. LinkedIn pages, you can track overall visits, and you can set up ads and conversion points in LinkedIn as well. Google Plus is based on circles and having your circles grow. Of course, just straightforward Twitter followers for Twitter. Blog visits and postings is definitely something that you want to track in your stats. And then the other thing you want to just keep in mind is that overall website conversions can happen because of what you're doing in your social media, and it's not always measured. It's not always something you can measure directly. It's a little bit of an invisible medium, and I think it's also important to know that conversions are seasonal in social media, or they're very time sensitive, and website conversions are too. But for example, we recently did a campaign to high-ranking SEOs and key managers in companies, and we've been running that campaign for weeks and weeks and weeks and seeing pretty good results. But the time frame where the results just took off was over the holidays, and we're thinking to ourselves, "What in the world? We didn't expect that, But think about it for a second. So the CEOs all had time to go to their Facebook accounts over the holidays. So they weren't hounded by business needs, and they were at home, and they were lounging on their computers, and they went to their Facebook and LinkedIn accounts or whatever, and they did some searching. So just you've got to keep that in mind with your target market. When are they going to be on Facebook, and how is that going to work?
Well, awesome. I think we've got a lot. I think we covered most of the stuff that we were talking about. I know we could go on for days about this.
Absolutely. I think that the thing to leave people with before we get to the action items here is that conversions are very, very important in social networking. You want to be able to measure those conversions and also realize that they can happen when you're not even expecting it or looking. So,
well, is there a way does Facebook have a way to measure shares? Because when here's an example. Somebody has some content on the Intuitive Websites page, on the business page, and they like what you said. They go, okay, there's something there that I want to repost. So then they do a share on their page, so what your post now shows up on their Facebook timeline.
Yeah, you can measure that in Facebook, but you can also measure that on your own website by having a thank you page. If you have a thank you page that comes up and says, even a pop-up that says, thanks for sharing, then that's going to show up in Google Analytics. And you can set it up as a goal in Google Analytics.
Now, will that show up in Facebook? So if they do that, is there a way to track that on?
Facebook has pretty extensive stats. I don't know the specific answer to that question. I would think that they do have that, or if they don't, it's coming. I do know that the Facebook algorithm now does give you, more power and more weight if you have a lot of likes, if you have a lot of followers, and you have a lot of people that are looking at your pages. And, we've talked about this before. Facebook results are all over Google. Facebook.com/whatever results are all over Google. So there's lots of benefits to getting additional followers and likes.
Well, wonderful. What are the key action items that we have for our listeners this week?
Well, and I hit on this first one just a little bit, but see that your social media strategy is really an extension of your current business strategy. It's really just another way of communicating who you are, what you're about, and the value that you provide. Be ready to measure all direct and indirect results from blogs and social media. And I think one of the trends we're going to see, I'm sure of this, with Facebook, LinkedIn's already doing this, is you're going to see much more extensive stats for business people. And I haven't looked at this, but I'm sure there's third-party applications that are going to come out that will have pretty extensive stats for Facebook. Set goals for various conversions discussed in this podcast. I think it was a great idea for the sharing goal that you mentioned. Include blog and social media marketing in all your web marketing efforts. So if you put a website up, you've got to have a blog and you've got to have links to your social networking. And then I'll leave you with this one, which was from Seth Godin, which is, if you do one thing, and you can only do one thing, then blog every day and blog about your strategy as a company, your strategy as a business person. And that's a real important thing to do in social media. And then, once you get comfortable blogging every day and it's a habit, then once a week, post one of those blogs to Facebook. So, just get started that way, and I think you'll see some good results.
Well, wonderful. Well, thanks so much for joining us, folks. Once again, if you have a question, if you'd like to have us cover something, by the way, I also didn't mention this in the beginning, how to get more likes in social media was sent to us. Today's podcast subject was sent to us by a listener. So we are listening to you. If something you want us to cover, send an email to info@intuitivewebsites.com. We'll be happy to get to that. And also, if you have a website that you would like us to review, same thing, info@intuitivewebsites.com. Thanks so much for joining us.
This has been an Intuitive Websites Internet Marketing Podcast. For more information and to see all the available podcasts and much more, visit intuitiveblog.com. If you have a website you'd like us to review or an issue you would like to see covered in future podcasts, email us at info@intuitivewebsites.com.